There's one right here.
I'm getting there. I'm picking up poop. Mimi, what are you doing?
I wish you hadn't waited so long to do this.
You know, every day, the dog and the pig, they poop everywhere.
Did you get those two big piles over there?
I did.
And she started going right behind this lemon tree, too.
Mimi, you're pooping too much.
No, there's none there.
What are you doing, huh?
One at a time, they'd get out and slam their car door and walk across this field with their shovels. And it almost seemed like a ritual or a religious experience to me, that here they were at the moment of birth to dig and actually break the land. And in my dream, it was so realistic to see them there. But then I'd wake up and I remember there was no groundbreaking. It was a dream. Everybody deals with the things going on in life. Oh, what happened?
Brenda jumped on me.
Oh, here. You know, I love my wife, but we butt heads all the time.
Here.
I love my son, but school is pretty good. There's just so much stuff you got to do. I feel like I'm living his life and my life as well, and it's just too much at times. So after I closed my art gallery, I decided to move my operation over here and do my picture framing and art consulting from my studio. It all started 9 years ago, and I was at my art gallery in NoHo, and an elderly man came in and says, "I've got some Disney drawings. You want to see them?" So I said, "Sure." So we headed over to his apartment in Valley Village, and upon entering, I could see that this man was probably obsessed with these images. He had, I'd estimate, about 250 of these original drawings. I could see that they were executed by a real craftsman. They had kind of a feeling of movement to them and aliveness. They made me feel happy in a certain way. I felt like I found something that was lost. I felt I found something that I needed or I wanted in some way. He told me that they're worth $1 million and he'd like to sell them for that. And I said, "Jeffrey, I'd be interested in helping you figure out what these are." I actually contacted Disney Studios, and to my surprise, they booked a meeting with me right away. About 6 or 7 people followed me into the conference room. And of course, they were looking for images that were relating to Disneyland or projects that were Disney.
1955 was a banner year. The mood was up, prosperity ruled, and the standard of living was flying really high. It was the perfect time for Disneyland. It was the perfect place for Disneyland.
For the past year, this signature has announced the opening of Disneyland, the show. Now it announces the opening of Disneyland, the place.
Disney was a master promoter. He had a television show that promoted Disneyland a full year before it was open. You know, so everyone in the USA, every kid watching television was programmed, "I want to go there."
Theme parks
combine Hollywood set design and landscaping with traditional amusement parks, and it's really the beginning of interactive culture.
First, there's Adventureland. Yes, a visit by boat to remote and adventurous regions of the world.
I didn't really pay attention at school that much. I paid attention at Disneyland. I learned from Disneyland. I learned what adventure looks like. I learned what tomorrow looks like.
There's Tomorrowland. The time is 1986 there. The place is a city of the future, where a trip to the moon is an everyday thing. Then there's Frontierland. Ah, that's a visit to America's historic past with Davy Crockett himself.
I learned what Frontier looks like, and I learned what Main Street looks like. I mean, it was visual. They're visual stylistic cues.
When I was growing up, I always heard about Disneyland, and it wasn't until I was about maybe 8 years old that I finally ended up going. They call it the Magical Kingdom, and it is. It is. It's you walk in and it's colorful and it's vibrant and there's music and sound and people, and it's like a fantasy. It's like a wonderful dream.
It programmed my head to kind of see that really the whole world is like Disneyland.
I felt like, you know, I want to live here.
The misconception about Disneyland is that it was an instant success. But, you know, good old Walt, he kicked it into gear, he built the place, and then he really just, you know, went for it. It's clearly his passion that made Disneyland a success.
Fantasyland? Well, this is really the theme symbol of the whole Disneyland, and the thing nearest and dearest to Walt Disney's heart.
And you know what? They all came eventually. They all got in the station wagon and found their way to Anaheim.
They all agreed that these are not Disney. I was a little disappointed that these were not Disney drawings, but they all agreed that these were by Bruce Bushman, who was a Disney artist, worked on many Disney projects, including Fantasia. Being a scavenger and being a collector myself, I felt that there was something here. What I love about Bible Storyland is it depicts all the men wearing suits and ties. I mean, who would wear suits and ties to Disneyland? And the fire eaters. Honey, look it's the fire eater. Got to turn around in my chair and forget my milkshake because it's the fire eater. I said, Jeffrey, you know, I don't know what these are. I don't know, you know, what you're going to do with them, but I'd like to buy them from you. I enjoy them myself. He said, well, they're worth $1 million, Harvey. So I said, all right, be seeing you, Jeffrey. So finally, after about 2.5, 3 years of calling him, to my surprise, he said, you know, I'm ready to sell. Let's wait till after the first of the year, after the holidays are over, and, you know, give me a call. 2 months went by. I called him up, there was no answer. I felt that there was something wrong, and I drove over here and went up to the call box. Jeffrey Todd, there he is. 1, 2, and punched in his number, and I was thinking, you know, my heart was like beating. It's like, where's Jeffrey? Why didn't he answer the telephone? And it rang, and it rang, and it rang, and you know, I didn't know what to do, so I punched in the number for the manager. The manager paused for a moment and said, Jeffrey Todd, he died a month ago in a fire that gutted the whole apartment. You know, like my heart sank. I didn't know what to do with that information. It's like I'd been waiting for 2.5, 3 years to acquire this collection of artwork. And it was gone. It's like it was over. My quest was over. He did tell me that there was a cousin in San Diego, and they rescued some items that were in another room. So I drove to San Diego, and Jeffrey's cousin opens up the garage door, and there are these 2 big trash bags. Oh my God, they survived. Something survived from this fire that killed Jeffrey. I just felt elated. I felt just so excited. That started me on my obsession.
He does get focused.
Bible Storyland is all-consuming. It's easy to be obsessed with the story and the images.
See, I'm Harvey's wife. My name's Debbie Derryberry.
Can't wait for spring. Then get to Sears' big President's Day event. Plus get a 10.
And I'm an actress.
Sessions. Friday through Tuesday. Sears.
And I've certainly had my share of doing projects. And this is Harvey's project.
Debbie doesn't want me working in Bible Storyland.
Okay. Done.
My wife said, "What is this project? What does this mean to you? It's ridiculous. It's a theme park that was never built, and you have some artwork. Big deal."
In the 50s, the big deal with the movies was television.
And so they had to get bang for your buck value since television was becoming more and more popular.
You got VistaVision, there's a bunch.
The rise of these very popular Bible films in the 50s, films like Ben-Hur and The Robe and Spartacus and the Ten Commandments, these films became more and more epic and dramatic. Directors like Cecil B. DeMille, nobody could do it better than Cecil B. DeMille.
Thou shalt not commit adultery.
Along comes the Ten Commandments, and the industry kind of felt the church should be grateful. Isn't this a great blessing that's been given us? Because Hollywood is all important, and the church is just a crumbling little stupid institution. So aren't you grateful? Don't you want to thank us? You know? Well, no, I didn't want to thank you at all. I thought it was phony.
Bible films are one of the most influential ways of getting across biblical stories to a larger audience that don't show up in church anymore.
Despite Malcolm's poor review, the Ten Commandments went on to earn $977 million in current money, a record at the time, and it was nominated for 8 Oscars. 3 years later, Ben-Hur was sweeping the box office in 1959 and 1960. So here you have Bible movies making the most money of any movies out there, and Disneyland, a huge success. Why not combine them? Why not?
Praise land, rides, food, a tithing pond.
It looks like an amusement park.
You're right. Maud designed a Christian amusement park. Oh, it must have been her final dream.
Hey, how about that?
From there, I started researching these, and I noticed on each one it said Bible Storyland, Nat Weinkauf. For 2 years, that's all I had until I found the press release.
Plans for Bible Storyland, a $15 million park and amusement area devoted exclusively to dramatizing biblical lore, have been announced by Nat Weinkauf, Vice President and General Manager of the unique project. Bible Storyland will be located in Cucamonga, Foothill Boulevard and Rochester Avenues, set against a magnificent backdrop of the Mount Baldy area.
This is where Bible Storyland was going to be, right here. The hills are alive with the sound of music. Da, 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 da.
You have got to let me do my auditions, you do Hebrew homework with him, and then be done. Will you be done with Bible Storyland for the whole day?
For today, yeah.
Will you be done for the whole day and night?
For today, yeah.
And tonight?
And tomorrow we're going to shoot again, so...
But you'll be done.
Yeah.
You won't do it for tonight.
For
because
today, yeah.
That includes tonight.
Tonight, Debbie. Yes, yes.
How long is this going to go on?
It's been 7 years or more that I've been working on Bible Storyland. When I go to bed at night, I'm thinking about Bible Storyland. When I wake up in the morning, I'm thinking about Bible Storyland. Bible Storyland's become a part of my life. And I'm sure if you ask my son and my wife, they'll confirm that Bible Storyland has become me.
He is, because he's like the only person that has the pictures of Bible Storyland.
It's enough with this whole Bible Storyland already.
Would you say that he loves Bible Storyland?
In one form or another, Bible Storyland is in our culture. You have the Simpsons episode. You have the Holy Land Experience in Orlando, Florida. But here, where Bible Storyland is to be built, there's nothing. It's been 50 years since it should have been built. The land's still empty. It's waiting for something to come.
We expect to break ground in April and hope to open Bible Storyland to the public on Easter Sunday, 1961, Weinkauf said. For young and old alike, amusement rides will be among the most original and imaginative ever created. One of these is the Ride to Heaven. A gold litter, drawn by 3 cherubs, passes through clouds and stardust, brushes satellites and comets, races into outer space as the Earth recedes below, and is escorted to St. Peter and the pearly gates in the home stretch by an angel. The companion piece on the Ride to Heaven is the trip to Dante's Inferno. This excursion via Charon's ferry across the River Styx is a dark, tingling encounter with monsters, devils cooling off in showers of steam, festering volcanoes, and sulphurous fire fountains. And there, too, is the ingratiating host of this lugubrious place, Lucifer himself.
Is this entertainment? Is this supposed to bring out the deepest spiritual instincts in me? But I don't think it does, you see.
On the Jonah and the Whale trip, youngsters of all ages will be fascinated by the boat ride through the whale, climaxed by a plunge down the giant mammal's tongue. And here, too, numberless modern Davids will pit themselves against a 10-foot-tall Goliath in the David and Goliath Slingshot Gallery.
The best way to describe it is Bible Storyland would have been Disneyland on top of the Old Testament. I always wanted to be at Disneyland, and every chance I got, I went to Disneyland. And now I have a chance to create my own fantasy land with Bible Storyland. That's my Disneyland.
Project designer is Bruce Bushman, also formerly associated with the Disneyland project. Officials of Bible Storyland include Donald F. Duncan, formerly of the Duncan Parking Meter Corporation, chairman of the board, Jack Haley, stage and screen star, president, and Weinkauf.
I see Nat Weinkauf as this driving force behind the whole project.
Weinkauf was formerly vice president and secretary of WED Enterprise Walter E. Disney, which designed and built Disneyland.
I see a man with a dream. I see a man who wanted to rival his old boss, and for all of these reasons, he wanted to create a project, create a theme park that would blow the others away, that would put Disneyland to shame. As far as I can determine, there's nothing written about him, and you'd think that there would be. My identification with Nat came down to his spiritual quest. I felt akin to him, and I wanted to take his project and move it forward and create something for myself. Over the last year, I've been emailing Nat's daughter and Nat's granddaughter. I'm just going to keep trying to email them and hopefully get them to work with me on this.
I've been told that Nat Weinkauf knew where the women were, and he was very good at setting up these types of late 1950s business meetings where everyone's having a really good time, and people plunk down $25,000, $50,000 to lease space inside of Magic Mountain or Bible Storyland. Nat Weinkauf would trade heavily on his association with Disney to get these pretty lucrative contracts with investors to design parks. He'd promote himself specifically, and this is not true, but this was the exact line that he would use. He would call himself the conceiver and principal designer of Disneyland.
He had a vision to create a park that would rival his old boss, Walt Disney. And what better way to compete with a theme park based on beloved characters than to build a theme park based on characters everybody already knows, Bible stories. The more I learn about Nat, I find that he was a great promoter.
Someone has a vision here, but my guess is that it's not Nat Weinkauf's vision, that he's hired to bring in the Hollywood talent, and that the person who has the vision is probably behind him, you know, Jack Haley or Donald Duncan. I don't know that, but that'd be my guess.
I'm thinking that maybe it was Jack Haley's dream. In this book showing grave sites of famous people, here's an entry for Jack Haley. At 79, he died of a heart attack and was buried at Holy Cross Cemetery in Culver City, California. He has a daughter named Gloria, who is his only surviving relative. Though I talked to her last year, she told me she had some medical issues and asked me to postpone her interview for a short time. So my plan now is to reach out to Gloria and get her involved too and find out what she knows. Enter the cemetery, turn left and start up the hill. 100 yards on the left is the grotto lawn and altar, and 6 rows down the hill from the altar is Jack's grave. And I would assume that Gloria, his daughter, will be buried next to him. I tried to make contact with Gloria, called her telephone number and there was no answer. Went on to the internet and Googled her name, and to my surprise, up popped her obituary. I almost felt like it was a family member that had passed away. Gloria's dead. Jack Haley's daughter, who was going to lead me to the truth on Bible Storyland. She had the information I needed. She felt that Bible Storyland, which ironically was also in the shape of a heart, Gloria said to me, you know, I think that maybe this project was the heart of the Tin Man, Jack being such a devout Christian. But now Gloria's gone. She was the only person so far that I've talked that has had firsthand knowledge of Bible Storyland. And I was really hoping to get her comments on camera.
I'm sorry for laughing. It just seems like
I know everybody who gets involved in this project dies.
Don't die.
The curse of Bible Storyland, it does scare me. It does. I realize life is short and death is certain. It's scary for me, it really is. When I called there the other day, there was some guy named Buddy Bregman who answered the phone. And he claims, he was married to Gloria for a short time in the early 60s. And he says that he...
Look, I'll just show you one more time, okay?
Debbie.
Just please, just so they're folded the same. Like this. Then, see? They're all like lined up the same.
Buddy says he worked with Jack on a few projects and claims he knows a little bit about Bible Storyland. Thank you so much for having us in your home and showing us around.
Thank you.
Here's a letter signed by Jack Haley. But
well, he wouldn't say Junior because, it's Jack Haley Jr., not Jack Haley. Jack Haley is a Tin Woodsman. Jack Haley died 20 years ago.
I know, but this project... Wait, buddy, come on, we're friends. We're friends.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
I get crazy when people don't know what they're doing.
Bible Storyland was from 1960. 1960. And in everything that's been written about it, it talks about the actor Jack Haley, who was in The Wizard of Oz.
Oh, that's fine. You're right.
Okay.
That's it.
From 1960, yeah.
I don't give me numbers.
So, Jack Haley Sr. started Bible Story, or wanted to do Bible Story.
That's absolutely true.
So tell us, like...
I don't know anything about it. I remember him mentioning it, and that's all. This is Bing and I just before we did Bing Sings Whilst Bregman Swings. Elvis. We lunched together every single day, 5 days a week. Hal Basie, Joey Bishop, Bert Conby, Ginger Rogers. Where have you been all your life?
Well...
Richie Valens died after my show the next day in a plane crash. He was on my show. Marilyn Monroe would come out. Boys, would you like some orange juice? He mentioned it to me, but Bible stories to me is like, exit.
I think we came away learning a lot about Buddy and very little about what I need to know to unravel the mystery of Bible Storyland.
The concept of Bible Storyland is spectacular. Nothing like it has ever been planned before.
Oh my God, look at that. Excuse me for mentioning it. Are we talking right now? This reminds me so much of Disneyland, I can't even believe it. I'm shocked that not only did they I mean, it's so Disneyland, it's not even funny.
This is a very light redressing of the Jungle Cruise at Disneyland.
This is way more Disneyland than I ever could have dreamed. I'm shocked by how blatant the two are. I mean, really, it's unbelievable. I mean, this is even more blatant than Freedomland USA.
Press release was on the 19th. The next morning in the LA Times, Bible Storyland will be built in Cucamonga. So that's the first mention in the press of Bible Storyland the next day. The San Francisco Bulletin picks it up. Ride to Heaven in Bible Storyland. A new LA park planned. Bible Land slated for Cucamonga. The Corpus Christi News. Park may imitate Journey to Heaven. So everybody was picking up on it. Within a week, Time magazine picked it up. They labeled it Bible Disneyland, which it was.
On the Dead Sea, customers will float on glass-bottom boats and look down on Sodom and Gomorrah, was the claim of a syndicate of Southern California entrepreneurs who last week announced plans for a biblical version of Disneyland.
Jump ahead 4 days in the LA Times, pastors object to Bible Storyland.
The hour-long conference in Beverly Hills between Jack Haley and Nat Weinkauf and the clergymen was reported to have been a heated one.
I mean, once you offend the religious community, I don't think there's any coming back from that.
Attending the meeting was Reverend Trustin A. Hart, pastor of the First Presbyterian Church in Upland. Today I'm headed up to Seattle to interview Reverend Hart for Bible Storyland, find out what his take was on the whole event. As far as I can determine, he's quite possibly the only living participant of the original Bible Land story still living. So I'm kind of excited to meet up face to face with Reverend Hart.
The simplistic approach to the Bible is dishonest. They would leave out Solomon and his hundreds of wives. They would leave out the Israelis coming into Palestine and bragging about killing the women and children by bashing their heads on stones. So it's a very selective kind of thing that modern Americans do with the Bible. They leave out some of the difficult passages and make it a very lovely story.
And then just 2 days later, 60 ministers opposed the park based on Bible.
I don't believe those three men came to Upland area or Ontario area and made any effort to contact the clergy. I think they felt that we were probably irrelevant.
And then Reverend Francis Bloy, who is the head bishop of the Episcopal Church in Los Angeles, protests it, writes a decree.
We protest most vigorously this blasphemous use of the Holy Scriptures for purposes of an amusement park. We stand squarely behind the 75 churches in their plea that this venture be abandoned.
To make you think that you could come up with this nonsense, you know? And I respect that.
What many clergy pointed out is that there were a lot of attractions planned for Bible Storyland that would offend many sensibilities.
Like what?
Well, the one that comes to mind that a lot of them have quoted is the ride to heaven. I don't know in the Bible how heaven is defined.
The Bible doesn't have any clear picture of what heaven looks like. Jesus never explains what heaven is. The Hebrew Bible doesn't have a heaven. So I'm not sure what they're arguing about.
Talk about what might have been offensive to the clergy or maybe even the public about the ride to heaven. So,
all right. Clergymen of that period would say, wait a minute, where is heaven? Is it up? Is it off to the side? Is it something else? And we hadn't yet started talking about wormholes taking us off into the distance, but we had begun to say a lot of the imagery of the Bible is phony.
They're arguing for some other kind of more sort of amorphous, abstract issues of power.
If this image was put in our newspaper I think that my friends would have laughed, because the only people that are going to see this are flying in an airplane. They sat around and came up with brilliant sales promotions that didn't make a lot of sense.
After interviewing the Reverend, I feel kind of an emptiness inside. For some reason, I just feel kind of empty. Look at this. This is the camel caravan ride from Bible Storyland. Yeah. And Hanging Gardens restaurant. I mean, can you imagine? Look at this scenery here. This is wonderful.
Yep.
In my fantasy, I can go on all those rides. The ride to heaven and the ride through Noah's Ark. To me, they're real. This is me.
I just don't see how this is going
to
pay the bills or make us money.
In my mind, I'm taking my images and my memory of Disneyland and I'm merging them with Bible Storyland, and I'm creating my own fantasy theme park that I can live in. But maybe people will flock to see the movie and buy the documentary.
Seriously? It's taking too much time.
At times, it felt almost like we were headed for divorce over Bible Storyland. And maybe that's the most recent manifestation of the Bible Storyland curse.
According to her grandson, Bernie Bregman, wasn't it Buddy Bregman?
But no, here. She was married to composer and director Buddy Bregman. Oh, Buddy had a son named Barry, and Barry had a son named Bernie.
She had a child with Buddy, and he didn't even mention it.
Man.
This is my grandfather's house, and I grew up in this house. I was about 6 years old. He said, I'm taking you to see this movie, and it was The Wizard of Oz. And I saw him on the screen as Hickory, the ranch hand, farmhand character. Then they, go into the forest, and there he is, the Tin Woodman.
I'd be tender, I'd be gentle, and awful sentimental.
Right from that point, I was like, my mind was blown.
If I only had a heart.
From that day on, I had a whole other impression of who, he was bigger than life to me. He was huge. He spent a lot of time with me, and as a kid, lots and lots of time. And that was great for me because he was like a father role to me. Even though he's my grandfather, we were very, very tight. And I loved him more than anything.
Jack Haley was born to poverty, Irish Catholic in Boston, kid of the streets.
The first thing I remember about Bible Storyland is seeing the plans, the architectural plans of that upstairs in the master bedroom out on this table, and I asked my grandfather, what's that? He goes, it's an amusement park thing we're working on, and all the rides are religious, type rides, and stories from the Bible and everything, and that's all I knew about it at that time. I had no idea, who the partners were. I was a kid.
For him, it must have been a way of giving back to the church.
And my grandfather was a staunch Catholic and very devoted to his faith, and that was like the most important thing in his whole life. When the clergy fought the idea of Bible Storyland, I'm sure that it must have been very disappointing to him because he has a great respect for clergy all over all walks of religion, so that would have been a real, kind of a slap in the face for him.
Haley was aware of this concept of immortality, of having made a permanent mark with The Wizard of Oz.
Look at someone like Jack Haley, and he knew in his lifetime that he would live on forever. He would be immortal, and he's an icon. I've always had a fear of death. The Buddhist practice that I'm involved in would point out that everything is impermanent, that life is transitionary, and nothing stays the same. But with celebrity, I don't know, with celebrity, You know, you have icons. They will live on forever.
I played the Tin Man when I was like in 7th grade at the local community theater, and they covered me with silver makeup, and it was like, you know, then I got poisoned and everything. It was great.
Debbie, look at this picture of Donald Duncan I found. That's the Yo-Yo King.
When are you going to pick up the poop?
Didn't you pick it up already?
Yesterday.
And there's more today?
Murphy, don't make me keep asking you.
Why don't you do it?
I could do it. I can just do it like I've done everything. Here, let me just do the laundry. Let me just do the dishes. Let me just go pick up River. Let me just go help him with his homework. Let me take him to Hebrew. No, let me.
Okay, just give me a few minutes here. You know, when it's not working, it's so dark. It's like blacks and grays. It's like a cave or being stuck inside of a room with no exit, no doors, no windows. And it's very bleak. We got the hills, we got the land, we got Bible Storyland. Bible Storyland is my immortality. I just want Bible Storyland to take me away from the shit and the grind and the to-do list.
Are you gonna build it?
I am gonna try to.
No.
I'm gonna build something here.
Would you make money if you made it?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. Would you go see it? That'd be cool, huh?
I could go on any ride.
You could.
But he's not really going to build it.
Done. He could.
I could.
I want you.
This is my dream. This is my Disneyland. My fantasy land.
Riv, we got to get ready to go, okay? So, have a good rest of your day with your junk. Me and River have two more appointments to get to.
That's not nice.
I know, but I want all the spotlight. I want all the attention, and now Harvey's climbing on board too, and that wasn't how I envisioned it. For me, one of me is enough. It's gotta be. I can barely tolerate myself. I'm not perfect.
This is where Bible Storyland was going to be 50 years ago, right here in Cucamonga. The hills are alive, the grass is alive, I'm alive here.
Geppetto's workshop will make a great stable for the nativity scene.
When it listed Bible Storyland, a very interesting tidbit is that it said, created and developed Bible Storyland for Donald Duncan. I've been in touch with Jana, and she's agreed to an interview.
I train dogs for a living, how to herd sheep and cattle. I work with border collies and other breeds. Stand. When I grew up, there were Duncan yo-yos everywhere, everywhere. I was around yo-yos constantly. My grandfather was totally in love with the idea of the Bible Storyland. He was so excited about the idea. He just thought it would be a huge success. He was the idea man, and he was good at getting people to see his ideas and go with him.
Let me tell you about my dream. I went back in time to the early 60s, and I saw this man that I realized was Walt Disney. And in my dream, I realized that I had my iPhone with me, and I said, "Hey, Walt, what did you think about Bible Storyland?" He laughed and said, "It would have never worked." And then in my dream, he morphed into a punk rocker with a big mohawk haircut and then just disappeared, and that's the last I saw.
I'm Chris Bushman, and my family's been in the motion picture business about 100 years. My grandfather started the whole thing. He was this Masala in the original Ben-Hur. My dad is his youngest son, Bruce Bushman. My mom and dad met when they were both working on Fantasia together, and that looked like my mom. My dad designed the Fantasyland castle, although others have taken credit for that since. But I was there and I watched him design it, and Bible Storyland was one of his favorites because there was so much rich history involved. And it got tied in with the 7 wonders of the ancient world. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon didn't sound like a very interesting ride, so they said, wow, we'll make it a restaurant.
The reason I wish I could go to Bible Storyland, I mean seriously, this isn't even joking around, is so I could learn about the Bible.
Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you the Holy Land Experience, Orlando, Florida. It is not Bible Storyland, but a close approximation of what the Bible attraction theme park can be.
Welcome to the Holy Land Experience.
Welcome to the Holy Land Experience. Come and experience the presence of God and just have a whole lot of fun.
And when's your next performance?
We're doing the Last Supper with the disciples in just about 5 minutes.
The church, of course, for centuries has been very good at trying to keep control of the message, of the doctrine, of what the Bible means.
Are you the only player that plays the role?
We actually have sometimes 3 at one time in the park, some with children, one with the main shows, one doing the Last Suppers. Once in a while we have to do all of it if we possibly can, but we share and help each other.
The Holy Land Experience. There's a lot of this guy around, but there's not much here. There are no rides. I think you have to bring your faith with you so you have a good time. I did pick up my salvation report.
In the last decade, we've seen the rise of these very pious-based theme parks around the country that are developed by people who are committed Christians who are actually using this form of a theme park to get across a holy or spiritual message.
Now go into this world and preach the good news to all creation. For in my name you will cast out demons. You will speak in new tongues. You will lay your hands on the sick, and they will be healed. And whoever believes and is baptized in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, he will be saved.
This is the way that popular culture and popular media has sort of finally gotten to these religious leaders because they understand its power now.
And let me read you this prayer I wrote in Are You Running With Me, Jesus, in 1965, which kind of says what I feel here. Help us really to dig in, Jesus, and be with you. After all the poor fiction and cheap biblical movies that have turned your life and death into almost bizarre superstition, Jesus, can we somehow get through all the decoration that has been developed about the cross and just be quiet and be there with you?
You know, I go to sleep at night and I'm thinking, should we continue with this? I mean, where are we going with this? What are we going to find? If we can't unravel the mystery, is it a wasted endeavor?
Bible park without beer? Now I've seen everything.
This candy is subpar. Any religion that embraces carob is not for Carl Carlson.
When I first found out about Bible Storyland, what an amazing disaster is about to take place is really what I thought.
You know, building a theme park and running a theme park and enrapturing people to come from all over the world to your place isn't an easy thing to do.
So I know you're going on your shoot, but you are going to miss River's performance at 11:15.
He was getting so much resistance that he just decided to not go through with it.
Everything seems to be coming down wrong on this.
And then all of a sudden, one day, I might have asked him something about it, and he said, well, no, it's not going to happen now, it's off.
I'm trying to meet with Nat's daughter, and they won't talk to me.
It didn't work out. It wasn't going to be a good business. People were against it. Cut your losses and move on to something else.
I don't know if I can do this.
When it came to a screeching halt, everybody was shocked.
I can't get any photographs of Nat Weinkauf.
Why do you even bother?
Todd Pierce told me that he's a liar. I can't do this. I can't do it. I gotta quit. I gotta end this.
So am I picking up River or are you? I'll pick him up.
Okay.
I want to know if we ordered the sleeping medicine yet, the sprinkles, and she didn't want him to feel like anxious.
It's occurred to me that Bible Storyland is not about me anymore. It's about my service to Nat and the other people involved in the original project, and keeping history alive and making people, you know, see and understand what they went through to get this project done. I've always had this feeling that there was more about Nat Weinkauf that I didn't know, and I'm not going to give up on him. I actually found someone who interviewed Nat Weinkauf's daughter for an article when I first exhibited the images in 2005.
Yeah, so I tracked down Nat Weinkauf's daughter and interviewed her by phone. She indicated that it was his park and his idea, and that he's a very creative man. The scenes of revelry at Nero's Pleasure Island would be, quote, lit by the soft glow of burning Christians. And they wonder why people would be offended by it. I've moved on, unlike Harvey, but has more stick-to-itiveness than Nat Weinkauf did, I think.
Yeah, I'm really excited today because we're headed up to what I believe is Nat Weinkauf's house. You know, I had asked Nat's daughter for photographs. She said, I don't have any. I encouraged her to let us come and interview her, and she wanted to hear nothing of that. Did Nat do something or say something or portray himself some way that his own daughter does not want to talk about it? Let's see if I can find the house. I think I passed it coming up here. I think it's this house right here. This is it. It sends chills down my spine after 9 years to actually be here at the birthplace of Bible Storyland. It's almost eerie to be sitting here in Nat's house, knowing that this is where it all began. And, you know, I don't believe in ghosts, but I do feel a presence here of Nat and Bible Storyland and the other characters. After all my research for the last 9 years, thinking that it was Jack's dream or Donald's dream or Bruce's dream or Nat's dream, I think it was Nat's dream. I really do.
Nat seemed to be the one that put things together.
The owners told me that a couple of the neighbors here actually knew Nat Weinkauf, and one of the neighbors lives across the street.
Nat was a terrific neighbor. We used to joke together and go out. You felt good to be around him.
He was a marketing kind of guy, and just was always kind of bouncy and up and positive.
Trust him. And the way he loved his wife was, to me, I never seen anything like that.
Right, right. And
Cookie.
His wife's name was Cookie.
Cookie. Well, I mean, that's not her real name, but
right,
they called her Cookie.
Yeah. He was Jewish. I don't know if he was a practicing...
No.
He mentioned that we weren't able to obtain photographs from his family.
Yeah.
And I've gone... I've checked with Disney. He worked with Disney. Yes. They have no photographs.
So you don't have any photograph of him?
No, I haven't been able to find any photos.
I remember one where he's in the middle of the picture, and I tried to find it.
Well, you're going to have to sit down for the next 2 years and find, and find that photograph of Nat Weinkauf for us.
I can see that there is quite a parallel between Nat in the olden days and Harvey now. They have about the same personality, very likable, very outgoing, very smart, and with, I wouldn't say an idea fix, but an idea of accomplishing a certain project. And that's how I could see Nat, and that's how I can see Harvey.
After meeting Roger today, one of Nat Weinkauf's neighbors, you know, I feel like there's a breath of fresh air, or the sunshine is now illuminating our project. And here we are, you know, up where Bible Storyland began, just right down the street. And I have the Hollywood sign behind me. And wasn't Bible Storyland really just Hollywood?
Okay, well, I'm an actor. I've been an actor for 42, 43 years. For a person with like 5'7" or 5'8", you think sometimes they're kind of ego-driven. Nat was the other way around. He was just fine and wonderful and warm. He was a very happily married man for years,
When we went back to interview Dick Valentine at Nat's house, here comes Roger out of his house waving a picture of Nat Weinkauf. I've got it, I've got it. So that's Nat?
There's Nat right there.
This is the first confirmed picture of Nat Weinkauf I've ever seen. And of course we were talking to Dick in Nat's house. And just being there in Nat's house, knowing that this is probably where Bible Storyland began. And we have a picture of Nat. We brought all the pieces together.
He always told about working for Walt Disney. He was always mistaken for Walt. And people would come up and want his autograph. And he loved it. I mean, Nat was the kind of guy who would love something like that, really enjoy it, and pleased him to no end. But Walt Disney found out about it. And apparently Walt was not that happy about it. And Nat, who was his right-hand man for years, he was finally fired. And Nat always said it was because of the resemblance that Walt didn't necessarily like. Who knows? That was Nat's story.
Nat, it was a good idea, and you should have thought it out a little bit better. And you could have had your Bible Storyland. You could have rivaled Walt Disney.
If you found out Nat was found out that a film was being made of Nat Weinkauf's life and career, he would be grinning from ear to ear, and he would never stop because he loved attention. He loved people. He loved being noticed. He would love this.
Here's to you, Nat.
He is laughing his head off. Believe me, up there, he is roaring with laughter and enjoyment. He is a very happy guy right now, I guarantee it.
This is Nat Weinkauf.
That guy?
Right here and right here. We're headed to Dr. Greenberg's for our couples therapy. We've been going for, I don't know, 6 months. It seems to be helping. I think, at least I can say that I feel much better about our relationship and myself. And
things are much better. They've changed.
Is that a yup yes or a yup no?
Well, she hasn't fired us yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, our last therapist actually said, you know what? I can't help you.
She fired us.
All these years, Nat Weinkauf has been my North Star. He's been my guiding light into this project, and for many years I thought it was really about the theme park, about Bible Storyland. But in talking to his neighbors, Nat's neighbors, I realized that he had a love for his wife Cookie, and he was a warm, compassionate character. And I think after all, that's what's most important in life. And after 10 years of research, these are the only photographs we found of Nat Weinkauf.
Wow!
Being compassionate about the family, my wife, my son, And that is more important than Bible Storyland. Now that I've learned about the true Nat Weinkauf, I'm very excited to be going to Upland. I was invited to Trustin A. Hart's old church to come and give a presentation about Bible Storyland. I'm really excited about being here, but for some reason this is different than I thought. I mean, I've been thinking about this evening for months, and for some reason in my dream I imagined kind of maybe a brown carpet and more of an elegant room, and maybe more people, but I think they're going to show up. I don't know. But we'll see. We'll see. Right now it seems a little iffy.
How does a person be an authentic person? It's a simple question and a very complex one at the same time.
You know, so many things in life we judge upon our misconception based upon the past or dreaming of the future.
Because I think acceptance has a lot to do with this. You accept some things, both in yourself, life, and the world.
And here I am comparing tonight against dreams I had over the last 3 months, and I realized I just have to be in the moment and enjoy the punch and talk to the people and just experience this moment, because that's where we are right now. I'm not in my dream, I'm not in the future, we're here now.
And okay, I'll tell you a little story about this then, because biblically, there's a story where the centurion wants Jesus to come to his house and heal his son. And then Jesus is en route, and then the centurion says, "You don't need to come, because I realize you already you've healed him. So I don't need to take your valuable time." In other words, thank you. It's done.
It would have been built at the corner of Rochester and Foothill. You probably have all driven by there many times. And of course, Foothill back then was very well known as Route 66. And building a theme park right on the doorstep of Route 66 was probably a good choice, because you had all of the people coming and going across the United States.
Very nice talk.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming.
Glad you came.
Yeah, almost. Come on, Reeve. Okay. Here's some poop. Can you get that one, buddy? And I'll get these. Right there.
We each come with an interpretation to a Bible story.
I'm just going to live my life and be authentic, be myself, enjoy my life, enjoy my family. I'm letting go. It's my last visit to Bible Storyland. It's been a long journey, and I feel like I've grown a lot since the beginning, and I've really changed my life. So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.
As time goes by and you see less of me, don't you ever wonder why? Let there be no mistake. I don't get jerked around whenever you decide to propose.